welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. You joined me today for another room tour and I decided that we would just continue right on because you saw the living room last time, and then in our living room we have these double doors and they lead straight through into the kitchen. So today is going to be my minimal kitchen tour. I've got quite a small space for our kitchen. It's sort of a kitchen dining room combined. We don't have two separate rooms, so our dining table is in the kitchen. And in terms of cupboard space, we don't have an awful lot of it. So I'm going to show you how I keep just the things that I use to hand and nearby, and where I store the things that we don't use so often, and how we only buy groceries and food in for that week so that we don't end up with loads of stuff that we can't store easily in our small kitchen. So come on in and I'll show you what we've got. So as you come in from the living room, this really is a very open space, and I rearranged the room so that I could achieve that open space. We used to have the table running straight through the middle, and whilst that was more efficient if you need to seat people all around the table, it just really took up the whole space and the room felt really cluttered. So I've actually got the table in this corner against the wall, and since most of the time there are only two of us here to eat at the table, you know, we make use of these two seats or these two seats. We don't really use that one in the corner, and it's just worked much better because now we've got this open space in our kitchen. So this is sort of the dining half, and then the kitchen is on the other side. Back here we have a storage cupboard and just our radiator, which has been very handy for just hanging our clean masks on. So when I've washed them, I just hang them on the radiator, and that is not a very minimal thing, being able to have them on show, but it does help you to remember to take one out with you every time you go out. So those are there. I will show you what's in that cupboard in more depth, but I just want to spin you around first so you've seen the room and you can see everything that's going on. Through this archway we've got our utility room. It's really small and it doesn't have a lot of storage. It is very functional for what we need, but I do make use of the little bit of storage out there to help me out with what I've not quite got a space for in the kitchen. You can see the table again behind me, so we've not actually turned very far. And then I've just got this bench, which is a bit of a sort of more decorative area than a functional area. This bench does match the table and chairs, and it did used to take up one side. We used to have it so it seated 6. So we had the bench at front, 2 chairs at the back and 1 at either end. But it is actually quite a nice place just to sit, to put your shoes on if you're going out the back door. Or in fact, I have actually filmed a couple of videos there as well. So in terms of in the kitchen, that is probably my favourite part, just because I think it's really sweet and cute looking, and you know, it looks quite nice. In terms of our kitchen, I don't think it's sort of the most aesthetically pleasing kitchen, but I do really like that little area in the corner there. And then if I just swing you around a little bit more, you've got the double doors, and then the rest is the kitchen all the way back round to the double doors that go into the living room. So that is really it for this whole space. So you can see I've not got a lot to work with, whilst I have been able to make it quite an open space. Like, it's not like a narrow kitchen. There's not a lot in terms of actual storage space. So I'm going to jump right in and show you how I've organised all my cupboards. Now, this by no means is an organisation video. I'm not some sort of organisation whiz. You know, I don't have lots of containers, and I don't label things, and I don't decant food into other containers for the most part. And so this is just how I make do with a small kitchen space. So starting in this small cupboard, I just keep medicines and things on the bottom. I mean, we've got sun cream in there. We've also got like an antiseptic cream in there, just the things like you might need if you get like a headache or a stomach thing. Like we're just covered. Then we also just have some scrap paper down the side. That's always handy because otherwise I'd have to run upstairs to my office, and if I was downstairs and I just wanted to make a little scrappy note, I have some scrap paper there, and then just matches on the bottom there. And then upwards here are just the things we use to take our packed lunches to work. So I have a packed lunch bag and a water bottle, and there's also some lunch boxes up there, and I just happen to have a thing of spare serviettes at the top there. So that's all that's in that little cupboard. I really wanted somewhere separate to keep the medicines, and also just to keep our lunch stuff out of the way, and at the same time I really didn't want to dedicate any more space than this to our packed lunch stuff. So it's just sort of there and out the way. It's a handy little cupboard to have. Now I bring you down to this cupboard, so we're just below the other one that we saw a moment ago. And this is kind of like I wouldn't really say cleaning cupboard. It's not really that at all. So all our water for our house is controlled under here, under the sink. And I really just keep what I need to do the washing up or to wipe these surfaces down here. So I've got washing up liquid. I've put our dishwasher tablets just into an old lunchbox just because the packets are really quite fiddly. And then an antibacterial multi-surface spray. And then I just keep our dishcloths down here as well. We do have reusable ones, so I'll have one out for maybe a day or two and then I will just chuck it in the washing machine, and that's really been quite handy because I think when you have reusable ones, you know, they're a better sort of fabric. I think they do a better job than the disposable ones, plus better for the environment. Also under here, we just have a bit of recycling. So I have this bin under the sink, just so if there's anything to recycle, we don't have to go outside to the recycling bin every single day. So it's just sort of like, almost like a trash can for recycling. So at the minute, all you can see in here is I've got a cereal box, a snack bar box, a kitchen roll tube, and then a plastic bottle. So we'll either wait till it gets full, or if it doesn't get full, we just take it out the evening before our bins are due to go out to be collected. And then I just have this old container that had washing machine pods in, and we just use it to put any old batteries in, and when this gets full, which it hasn't yet, we can then take it to be recycled properly. I know batteries you have to be careful with, so we just keep that under here as well because it's just a place to keep it. We then just have our sink area. I really try to keep this sort of clean and tidy. I don't sort of have, you know, those caddies with sponges hanging anywhere. That's not really what I'm all about. I just keep a dispenser of hand soap on the windowsill. I just think it looks nicer in a dispenser rather than just in the little bottles that they come in. And as you can see, I've got one of our reusable dishcloths here. So when I'm not using it, I just hang it over the sink so it can sort of dry out, otherwise they can start to smell, but everything else is pretty clear and blank here. And then on my other side, I've just got a little plant. This is a tiny, tiny plant, so that's my third plant in the kitchen. I love that just because it's so small, it takes practically no care, just a little drip of water every now and then, but it just adds a little something to the countertops, because I do like to keep my countertops clear. But that doesn't mean it can't be brightened up with a tiny little addition like that. So that's why that's there. And we have our meal board as well, which just helps me to keep track of what meals I'm preparing and what I have bought groceries for, because I do plan all my meals ahead. As I've already mentioned, it's so we only get in the groceries that week that we need for the week. And you know, there are some instances where you might get like a 2-for-1, so you do end up with a little bit more than you necessarily need for that week, but for the most part, generally speaking, we just get our groceries in for that week. I've also got my kettle on the worktop here. That's just because it's an item I use every single day. I do have a cup of tea every morning, and it's also not the sort of appliance that's easy to put away, to keep getting out again. I'm not bothered about having the kettle on the worktop. Now, with my kettle and also my toaster, which you'll see in a minute, they do match, and I went for the creamier colour. They do a white one, but I went for the cream colour because it matches the cream counters, which, you know, that's not a favourite sort of thing of mine. I didn't pick the design of this kitchen because we're the second people to live in this house, and I think the previous owners were probably going for a little bit more of a country kitchen sort of feel, which, you know, isn't really to my taste. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I'm so grateful that it was like a light colour kitchen and not sort of like brown wooden kitchen or black or anything like that, but I would definitely have preferred pure white and maybe like gloss effect counters, but you know, I'm making my peace with it. If I really wanted to, I could go ahead and you can get sort of cupboard paint and then paint these white, but then, you know, everything else isn't going to match. So I've definitely worked with what I've got, and I think I have sort of pulled this together and made sort of a theme, a look, an aesthetic to the kitchen, and you know, I'm just fine with it, but at the same time it's not my absolute favourite, but I've done what I can with the space so that I can at least enjoy it. And I've also got one of my wax melt warmers plugged in here, so I can just switch that on whenever I fancy a bit of a scent. At the minute I've got an almond one on, so that's quite nice. And in this cupboard here, we have got our plates. So we've got dinner plates and then smaller side plates next to it, and then our mugs up above. So I've got 4 sort of standard size mugs, 4 sort of mini mugs, and then 4 of the latte glasses that I never use for latte because for the most part I don't drink coffee. I do sometimes have those Nescafe flavoured ones, but that's about it, and very rarely. So I have those, so I sometimes have coffee in those, but more often than not I put squash in them because it kind of looks cute. And then just up the top there we have got our glasses. As you can see, you know, the cupboard is very basic. All of my plates and bowls and everything, and now cups, as you can see, are just plain white. There's no patterns on them. I prefer them not to have patterns on, and everything is easy to use. You know, it can go in the microwave, it can go in the dishwasher. That is something that's important to me to save time, knowing that I haven't got to fiddle around with bits and pieces that can't go in the dishwasher. So yeah, very simple, very basic. You know, there's nothing flashy here. It is just functional and it serves a purpose, but I like it. And then whilst we're here, we have also got this one. So we keep our bowls in this one. Again, they match the other plates and cups. They're just plain white again, and they're in sort of a square shape. All of my dishes are sort of a square shape, which I just preferred. I think when you're going for something very plain and very basic, just a little subtle quirkiness, if you like, and having sort of square dishes rather than round ones can be a way just to make it a little more interesting. And this is kind of a breakfast, tea, biscuits and snacks sort of cupboard. So we just have cereals up in the top. Notice I don't pour my cereals out into other containers. I'm absolutely fine having them in the packages that they already come in. I think if I have to have containers as well, yes, it might look good, but it's another thing to have to organise and sort out, and it's another item to bring into the house. So I do actually have some containers because maybe a year ago I was going to do all that decanting into different containers, but I never got on board with it. So I've kept my containers because every now and then they can be useful, but they're kind of out of the way. In fact, you'll see them later. I have got a biscuit tin, a few snack bars at the top, my tea, because in terms of my tea, if I'm not drinking a herbal tea, I only drink Earl Grey tea. I have got some of those coffee things that I mentioned, the Nescafe, just instant cheaty ones. You know, I don't make coffee the proper way because I'm not a big coffee drinker. Even this little thing of coffee is my mum's. She has this in here so that when she comes round to visit, she knows she's got coffee. And then I've got just an assortment of tea bags in here, a little thing of hot chocolate, which is nearly empty, and then this, I have a few of my Earl Grey tea bags in, and when I'm done using the last few here and I open a new box, I'm just going to be going straight from the box. I'm not going to bother putting them in a container like this because I really don't think it's necessary. I think unless you're going to do everything and make it all look, you know, really aesthetically pleasing, then just having one is kind of pointless. For this next cupboard down here, I'm actually bringing you off the tripod, otherwise you'll never be able to see into it. So Charlotte behind the camera. This is my least favourite cupboard, simply because it's one of those corner cupboards, which makes it an absolute pain to get into, to reach things, but it's such a strange shape, it makes it really difficult to organise. So I kind of just have an assortment of things I use regularly in here, but you know, it's definitely not my favourite. So on the top here, I've got my wok and 2 small frying pans, and then you can see next to it, I just have 2 measuring jugs. I've got an oven-proof dish at the front, and then at the back there, I've got a salad bowl, and then underneath that is just a serving dish in case I do something, maybe like a big salad or a spaghetti bolognese or a pasta dish, where I put it all in one big bowl and we serve ourselves from the bowl. And I've also got my mini cheese grater. I found that I really didn't need a large one because I rarely use it, and I actually found using a smaller one easier. Then down here, I've got a cutting board. I only have one cutting board now, it's a glass one. A cooling rack, which again, we rarely use because I don't bake very often, but because it just slots in down the side, it's very easy to put it there. Our 2 pizza plates and my 1 recipe book. I recently decluttered a lot of my recipe books, and that's the only one that I kept because there are some lovely recipes in there and there are some I've still not tried that I want to. I then have my stack of saucepans here, and strainers, sieves and a colander there, and then just a water jug. When my fridge isn't as full as it is right now, I fill that up with water and put it in the fridge just so we have cool water to drink from, rather than, you know, having to worry about ice and things like that. And then hidden, if you want to come into the cupboard, round the back are just my saucepan lids. They're what's hiding down there. And on the top shelf, I also have a couple of baking trays hidden round the corner as well. So as you can see, that's kind of an awkward cupboard, but it does have a lot of space in it. It's awkward space, but it's able to store pretty much all of my cooking stuff away in one place. Then right next to that cupboard, we just have our dishwasher. Also on the counter, I've got my weighing scales. I do reach for those quite a bit, and I used to have them away in a cupboard, and it was just another example of where I found that I was pulling them out and putting them away and pulling them out and putting them away, and they're quite bulky and take up a lot of space. So I just made my peace with it and decided I could cope with those being on the counter. As a more minimal person who prefers a more minimal aesthetic, I don't like having too much on the countertops, but actually I'm okay with this. That's fine. That's not too much clutter as far as I'm concerned for my tastes. And then you can see over on the other side, just crawl around here, there we go, I have got my toaster, which matches the kettle, and that used to be again in the middle here, and that was too bulky and too cluttered, and so we moved it over into that corner, and I think it looks much better. Then we've just got our microwave. That's one of the features I like about the design of this kitchen, having the microwave integrated and up on the wall rather than having to have a freestanding one that takes up space on the counters. As you can see, we do not have a lot of counter space. Like, this is all taken up by the sink, so I literally just have this space here to prepare food. So having to not have a microwave on the countertop was really, really a design plus for this kitchen. So to whoever designed the kitchen, we'll give them bonus points for that. And then this is a bit of a random cupboard. So I have got 2 mugs that I've kept that, you know, aren't the plain white ones, just because, you know, I really like them. So they're up there. We have got some wine glasses up the top, which aren't very functional for us because neither myself or my husband drink, but you know, sometimes when the girls come round, we have fruit juice or we have mocktails, and it's actually nice to serve them in a wine glass rather than just one of our ordinary glasses. And then a few of my husband's bits and pieces, and we do just have a set of 4 glass dessert dishes back there. But this really is the cupboard of not very often used stuff, so it's just up here and out of the way. And below there we have got our drawers. So honestly, at this point, I'd probably only need 1 drawer for utensils, and could have actually done better if the rest of the space was a cupboard, but you know, that's just how the kitchen was designed. So this is pretty self-explanatory. You know, you can see knives, forks and spoons, teaspoons, my cooking or serving spoon. I have a slotted spoon, another serving spoon, a spatula, a pizza wheel, some tongs, a tin opener, and our sharper knives, and that is literally all that's in there. This used to be so cluttered, and whilst it's still not, you know, exactly, you know, neat and tidy, I still consider this to be quite messy. It's a lot better than it was. And as you come across, we've just got our oven and hob. We have a gas hob. I always prefer a gas hob. I really wanted a gas hob, and my husband wanted an electric hob. It was just what was already in the house, you know, whatever was here, I would have just taken it. And then our oven is electric. We have a grill at the top and an oven at the bottom. The oven is very small. Cooking Christmas dinner was quite a challenge, but when there's only 2 of you, it doesn't matter. But yeah, we do. I'm not a fan of the small oven situation. This top one can also be used as an oven, but still, I would much rather have like an in-the-wall big one. But you know, things for the future. And then in this cupboard down here, we have got our drinks. So my husband drinks a lot of flavoured water. I drink peach squash because I'm a child and that is just what I do. And my husband drinks either Ribena or Vimto squash. We don't have any alcohol in our house because neither of us drink, and very rarely do we have like fizzy drinks or soda. So we don't have sort of Coke, lemonade. We do occasionally, but not very often. We also have the world's largest supply of pot noodles. Again, that's a bit of my husband. And then we have a chicken and mushroom pasta sauce and a little tuna snack pot thing that came with one of our orders. Back when we were ordering groceries online during lockdown, they kept sending us free samples and they have just been with us ever since. I'm sure eventually we'll get round to using them, but at the minute they're just in this cupboard. Again, this cupboard is just, you know, it's not too crowded. We have got quite a lot of squash in stock. I think we had a few sort of buy one get one situations here, but you know, we've not overloaded and really had to stuff this cupboard full of food. And then directly above that one I have this cupboard, which is again quite empty. It's not bad. So on the bottom two shelves you can just see I've got our tinned products. So the reason we have so many chopped tomatoes and beans is because they come in packs of 4, so we've just stocked up on the packs of 4 and that's what's there. 2 tins of soup. I rarely eat soup. Again, it was something we bought in lockdown, you know, just in case it seemed like a smart thing. It didn't take up a lot of room in a tin, would last. So we do have a couple of soups. I have rice pudding, mushy peas and tinned sweet corn on the middle shelf. I've also just got some oils and oil sprays down the side there. On the top shelf is a little bit of a mix. I mean, it was initially like a baking shelf, but all that's left that I can see now is icing sugar, sprinkles and caster sugar. There's also a thing of cocoa powder up there, my peanut butter and chocolate spreads up there, and I also have some almond flakes and chia seeds, which actually I put in smoothies or on sort of yogurt smoothie bowls and things like that. So it really is about not overstocking and having more food than we can actually store in our kitchen, because that's how it used to be and it was just chaos and I hated it. And if we continue around, we then have our fridge freezer. Now my freezer has absolutely, in fact I don't even need to show you, no organisation whatsoever. So I'm not going to tour you around there because there would be nothing good to see. And then our fridge, again, I don't go with very much in the way of organising for the fridge, and so this is just what our fridge looks like. So in the door is condiments just here, and then open products. So my husband's got an open bottle of flavoured water, I've got an open bottle of hazelnut milk, more condiments and sauces and stuff on this side. And I promise I haven't got a problem with hazelnut milk. I just have a lot going on. So I've got like a whole shelf of hazelnut milk. These are almond milks. We keep meat products on this bottom shelf that are uncooked. So we have some minced beef for chili I'm doing this week, and just eggs, and I've got some mint sauce that didn't fit in the door. My husband's got yogurts at the back there and I've got mine here. We do have like his and hers yogurts because we like different things. So it's not just a sort of free for all. It's actually something where we have our own because we have different things. And I don't know if that's weird or if that's what people do. And we've got cooked meats, cheese, coleslaw, butter, and then this is my little treat I'm allowed. I always get a bar of Bourneville in my weekly shop, and yeah, I pretty much can clear this in a week, no probs, but that is like my treat. And then we have some fruit down the bottom and some salad in the other one. So that is pretty much everything in the fridge. I'm feeling very close to the camera. And then last but not least, we have this incredibly narrow cupboard down the side, but actually it's quite handy. So up the top, which you can just see, we have got pasta, we have got rice, and then we have got spaghetti and lasagna sheets. Then I've got my herbs and spices. As you can see, I don't have a massive variety, so I just have in the ones that I use. I have herbs at the top as well as salt and pepper, and then sort of spices at the bottom. I've sort of placed them in sort of a zigzag staggered formation because as long as you stand at a reasonable angle, you can actually read all the labels, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. And I have just a little shelf divider in there, which made things a little easier. And then a variety of other sort of cooking. I've got packet sauces, gravy, you know, sort of things that make sauces to go with meals. It's kind of like a mixture of stuff just there. And then right down at the bottom, we have just got spare sauces. So somehow we've ended up with like 3 ketchups in stock. I have no idea how that happened. But just when, again, this might be like when we bought a 2-for-1, not sure what happened on the ketchup, but otherwise, like the mayonnaise, we probably bought a 2-for-1. So we've got one open in the fridge, and we don't need the unopened one in the fridge taking up a valuable fridge space, so it's just in the cupboard. Also got salt and vinegar in there and a spare cranberry sauce. And we have a gap at the bottom. That's generally my spot reserved for potatoes or veg that I don't put in the fridge, which I put most of my veg in the fridge in like where the salad is at the bottom. So at the moment that is empty because I'm not doing a dish with potatoes this week, but usually there's a nice little bag of potatoes in there, but I'm not just going to fill it for the sake of it, so this week it's empty. So that's pretty much it kitchen wise in terms of the cupboard, but I will just take you through into the utility room to show you how I use this space back here. So here you join me in our little utility room. It's just right off the kitchen, as you saw, and I love having a separate utility room. In fact, it's one of the things that sold me on this house when we bought it. I really wanted a separate one because in smaller houses in the UK, or in some cases older houses, it's not uncommon to have your washing machine or your tumble dryer, if you have one, in your kitchen, and I really didn't want that. I didn't want to have to look at that all the time when I was in my kitchen. It didn't give me the aesthetic I wanted. For example, I'm so grateful that our dishwasher is an integrated one, so we can have a matching cupboard door over it, so you don't just have the dishwasher. So I'm really grateful for that. But no, I love having a separate utility room, so we've got somewhere else where the washing machine is, and it also makes it so much easier having this extra counter space to do laundry and fold the laundry. I've then also just put these 2 baskets on here as a place to put our used tea towels and dishcloths, just because I don't put the washing machine on until I've got a full load, and so that's just a place to put those rather than having to put them in like our clothes laundry baskets. It's like a separate place here, and I have another one where we can put our masks that we've been wearing and that now need to be washed and then hung back on the radiator. So in this cupboard here, I have just got basically the stuff from the kitchen that I don't use very often. So I've got little pie dishes, I've got a larger oven-proof dish, I've got some glass containers that I mentioned that I didn't want to waste them, honestly, because you never know when a container could be quite handy, but I don't want to spend my time decanting stuff right now. I've got 2 mixing bowls, I've got a steamer set of pans, a larger grater. As I mentioned, I don't really reach for that, but you know, it doesn't hurt having it, so I don't feel the need to declutter it. A few little bits and pieces. I've got like a rolling pin, a garlic press. Like the garlic press is probably the most common thing I have to come over and get from this cupboard. But you know, stuff you don't reach for very often, like a little handheld whisk. And then in this little container at the end, I've just got some little peg things that you put on packages that are already open, like your cereal or something that's in the freezer if it's in a bag and you just want to make sure it doesn't open itself up. I've then got my blender, my spiralizer, and spare dishwasher tablets up the top. So that top shelf is really just handy to store boxed things, and I think if I had to store these in my kitchen where everything was, they take up so much space and I wouldn't be able to sort of have the organised look that I like and the not too crowded look that I like. I do have a couple of bits like vases on the top of this counter, but I really hate storing stuff on top of counters. I hate like the visual clutter of that. That's something I get from my mum because she hates it too. So where I can, I've sort of hidden those in that corner. So when you come into the utility room, you know, they're not obvious. You have to really look to be able to see them. This door here just leads to our downstairs loo, which I feel like has appeared in various videos in places, but it's so tiny, you can't really get your camera in there. So this is a bit of a cleaning cupboard, so I just keep my cleaning supplies up there, and that's that. And then on the door, we've just got information about when our bins and recycling is collected. Down the bottom, we have just got our washing machine and tumble dryer. Very basic, does the job. This cupboard here, since I'm in such a tiny cramped space, I won't try and get down there, but all that's in there is our iron, some dusters, the washing machine pods, pegs for when we put the washing out on the line. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that's in there. So it's kind of just like a mini laundry cupboard. And then the last thing I promised to show you was the cupboard under the stairs, which is very difficult to get in when you decide to put your table right in front of it, but it works for us. So I'm gonna have to get the camera and bring you with bear with. So as you can see, it's not the tidiest thing in the world. So the first purpose, I guess, is a place to store all of our coats and jackets. This includes winter ones, summer ones. You know, we don't really put them away, but it really does help not to have all your coats and jackets in your wardrobe and taking up space. So those are in here. My husband also keeps his shoes down here. He doesn't really have a lot of space up where his wardrobe is to keep them, because his wardrobe is also in his office, so he's already using a lot of that space for office stuff, so he keeps his shoes down here. We've just got a little duster and a steam mop. My suitcase isn't here because I'm too lazy to put it up in the attic. It's actually serving a second purpose right now, you know, since no one's been on holiday for a very long time, or certainly we've not, and I would only take a suitcase that large for a long trip, so that's the sort of suitcase I used to take when we were going abroad for 3 weeks. So since it wasn't being used at the minute, it's storing my Christmas decorations. You can see my Christmas tree in the back corner behind there. We have got the box for my vacuum cleaner, the cushions off our outdoor furniture. That basket there is just full of random cleaning bits and pieces. We've got a brush that was hiding in there. Our ironing board's also in here, which I rarely use. I'm very tempted to just get rid of it because I hardly use it at all. And then at the front here is just a bag of carrier bags, which can be handy if you need a bag. So there you have it. That was my kitchen tour. Really, my priority here was to show you how we work with such limited storage space. The key thing really being that we only have the food in that we need for the most part for this week, and that all comes from the fact that we plan our meals ahead of time and we only buy the groceries for those meals. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but generally speaking, we only keep what we need to hand. And the only other thing really is that we keep the pots and pans and dishes and everything like that on hand that we use regularly. And as you've seen, I've utilized the space in our laundry room, which is, you know, it's right there. It's basically in the kitchen, as a space to store kitchen items that we don't use regularly because we don't have a lot of space in here. So that's it. I hope that you found this somewhat interesting. As I mentioned, you know, it's not like a Pinterest kitchen. It's not, I've put things in pretty matching storage containers with labels. That's really not me. I need my kitchen to be easy to manage, functional, quick. You know, I'm a very busy person, and I also want it to look a certain way, and this just works for me. This kitchen, since I've lived here, you know, I've moved stuff around, I've tried things in different ways. I've probably done like 5 different versions of this kitchen in 2.5 years, and this for me is the best so far. It's definitely the easiest to use, which makes it the most enjoyable. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really wanted to make another room tour because a lot of you guys said you enjoyed them. People have also asked for bedroom and bathroom to sort of be the next priorities, so I'll try and work on those soon. So I'll wrap this one up. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.